Hi, welcome to the next chapter with me, Denise Young. And this is Chantel Dolphin from One Insurance. And we're going to be talking about what buyers don't find out about insurance until it's almost too late, and sometimes is. Um, we chatted during the buyer and seller series, and it became apparent to me that we needed to do some more discussing on insurance. And yeah, so here Chantel is.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming back on because, yeah, you were great last time. So,
Oh,
yeah,
thanks.
we're looking forward to it.
Insurance is often a boring thing, but we try to make it fun.
Yeah, I know. And it's a necessary evil. So, people who are, in the midst of their purchase, it's important to them, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
always say you don't need insurance until you need insurance. So,
exactly. Um, and I think because like insurance is often treated as a last step in buying a house. Um, and I think that is partly why. But why do you think that happens?
so I think that happens mainly because the realtors help with the buying of the homes, the offering the offers for the homes, and then the actual presenting of the paperwork and the sale of the home. And then from there, they kind of look at securing their finances. So maybe they're using a mortgage broker or they have someone already at a bank that they're using. And then lawyers are often the last stop for doing the closing and all the finalizing of the paperwork. And those are actually the ones that are looking for the binder of insurance. So them being the last step means that often insurance is missed as the last step as well.
Right. Yeah. Um, what kind of stress or deal risk does the last minute insurance shopping create?
Well, it just basically like the stress of it is that maybe the insurers, like the purchasers, aren't going to get the property policy that they're going to need if they're in a rush. They're not going to fully understand. They're not going to ask the right questions to say, maybe we do need this type of coverage. Maybe they're not fully understanding it. So it just jeopardizes it a little bit on their side of things if they're not asking the right questions, confirming that they have the right coverages that they're going to be getting. And if we don't have enough time to shop the market appropriately, we might be missing out on something, right? So when
Right.
there's just not a lot of time, it's missing it on both ends sometimes.
Right. That makes sense. Um, when does insurance actually well, I guess we kind of just said that with the going to the lawyers. Insurance becomes a requirement at the lawyers.
So often if there's an interested party like a mortgagee or even a line of credit, if people don't have a mortgage on the property, but they do have that line of credit, there's a financial interest, meaning that there's often a requirement for the insurance.
That makes sense. And can you explain what an interested party means?
So it basically just if they have a financial interest in the property that's being purchased. So sometimes it's the banks, sometimes it's there's personal loans through people. So I've seen like an actual person be the lender of the money. So they have a financial interest. They need to be added to the policy. And yeah, like those types of things.
Awesome. What happens when buyers wait until the lawyer asks for the certificate of insurance?
Um, oh goodness, I'm blanking here.
Oh, sorry.
We missed some of the
Yes,
questions.
that's just yeah, I'm like, I don't know that I think we kind of even covered all of it. Like you if they you have to rush to get it.
Yeah, basically, like if we're all in a rush and the lawyer's pushing, they're not going to be looking for the right coverage. They're just looking for any coverage at that point, right?
Yeah,
So we don't get to have the proper conversations. They're not often open-minded, whereas if they're not in a rush, they often are more open-minded to fully understand what they're purchasing. So
right.
they're going to want to know if it's a broad or a comprehensive, if they have the extra coverage for single inclusive limit or guaranteed building replacement cost on properties. Um, yeah, those types of things. If they're not going to be open-minded, then they shut down a lot of the questions that we're asking. It jeopardizes the policy that they're purchasing.
Makes sense. Have you ever seen insurance delays actually push back a possession date?
Absolutely. Yeah, if we don't have time to shop the market properly, we can't provide proof of insurance, the binder letter that the lawyers are often looking for. So I've seen it push possession dates because we can't get that in place the day of or even the next day
I can
sometimes.
see that happening, especially with like if you need a wet inspection that you
Absolutely.
needed, or pigtailing of the aluminum wiring or something like that, right? Like,
If it's not a high risk that we're looking at insuring, there's sometimes back and forth with the companies that we have to often have to do. It's not a firm no right away, but they say, we need a little bit more information. We need a little bit more time to review this, get that information to make sure that we're a for sure yes. So
right.
we need to make sure that we have time to be able to review that with them.
That makes sense. Some of the things that I've learned that come up during quotes are things like electrical, like knob and tube or aluminum wiring, like I said, or anything less than 100 amp service. Poly B, I learned recently, and the age of a roof and condition, claims history, and stuff like that. And heating type and age. When a house has been well maintained and insured, why does this suddenly all of a sudden matter to a new policy?
Yeah, just because it's been maintained doesn't mean it's still in its practical working order. So a lot of the companies are drawing hard lines when it comes to ages of hot water tanks, ages of furnaces, ages of roofs. They just find that at that peak of their life expectancy is unpredictable at that point. So they become uninsurable.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense. What additional questions come up with rural homes?
So a lot of the rural homes we ask, so water sources, well water, septic systems, a lot of them are on like the septic fields, but also we're seeing a trend with the low pressure systems with communities like Tyndall or East St. Paul. Even Lockport was getting into that as well.
Yeah.
So those were going to be questions we're asking. Outbuildings, the types and values. So we as insurance brokers have insurance rate calculators that calculate the dwelling values, the home itself, and what that replacement cost would be, plus the debris removal in the event of a total loss. But we don't have anything for outbuildings. So we often are advising our clients to be asking for quotes from builders or contractors. That's their niche, right? That's their specialty. They're going to have the best idea for what they have, what is it going to cost to replace it. So in the event of a loss, they're not going to be underinsured, right? We want to make sure that those values are always going to be sufficient. So we often are asking those types of questions. Seasonal or vacant periods. So if they're going away for extended periods of time, and who's maintaining the property? Is it going to be still accessible? Are they checking the water? Is the water being turned off? Are you keeping the heat on? Do you have some type of alarm that's checking the heat while you're gone to make sure that, especially in the heating season, the pipes aren't freezing right if the furnace goes off? So all of those questions are going to be asked, as well as the accessibility. So we want to know if it's year-round accessible and it's accessible by road, because if it's not, if it's one of those fly-in properties, it changes the rates, it changes the property, it changes the use. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Well, let's move on to condos. And,
Sure.
what does Condo Corporation insure versus what does the owner need to insure for themselves?
So the condo corporation has their policy for the building, right? And these shared areas is often covered under that, but the condo units owners themselves own their unit, so the walls and anything within it. So the condo packages are going to look a lot different because the uses are different. So any of the owners of the condos, they're going to need coverage for improvements and betterments that they're doing, as well as their personal property. There's often the condo corporations have a deductible that would need to be met by certain policies. So we want to make sure that those are sufficient limits. I mentioned liability. It's always an important factor to include and make sure that you have a higher liability as well. Standard 1 million isn't cutting it anymore for a lot of cases. So we look
Right.
at 2 or even 5.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Some condo, I go over condo ownership, obviously, when I have clients looking at buying a condo, but a lot of condo buyers are still shocked that tenants insurance is not going to cut it.
Yeah, the tenant's insurance and the condo insurance is quite different because the tenants, they're not actually owning the property that they're going to be occupying, right? They're just renting the location where they're going to be living and residing. And the policy then reflects that. It's going to protect their personal property. It's going to give them some liability and some extra loss of use as well. So in the event of a loss, if they're no longer able to live at that location, there's often a limit on the policy that allows them alternate housing. So if it's going to be a short period of time, maybe that looks like a hotel stay. If it's a longer period of time, maybe they look for another apartment for them to be occupying or locations. Those types of packages are very different.
That makes sense, definitely, because yeah, we want the condo owner to insure their actual unit, and liability insurance is a really important one in that, because if your ice maker breaks and leaks and damages the unit below you, your coverage has to cover that as well. Yeah. Can you explain improvements and betterments in like a layman's terms?
Yeah, so oftentimes people buy these condos and they don't often like what's there, right? Sometimes it's just Stockholm style things. So maybe they got a Home Depot kitchen or an IKEA kitchen, sorry, and they want to do something more customizable. They want to make it their own. They put the money in to invest in this unit. We want to make sure that it's insured as well. So there's improvements and betterments to be able to account for the improvements that they are doing into their place.
Exactly. Awesome. Okay, so let's move on to what buyers can do to be better prepared. What questions should buyers be asking early?
Yeah, so a lot of those questions I think we covered in the first series, but it's just going to be a lot about the property. So the year it was built, the square footage, the style of the home. So 1-story, 2-story, those bungalows or even tri-levels. There's still lots of those out, so it's still very common.
Yeah.
Bathrooms, the style of the bathrooms, the roof, heating, plumbing, electrical types and ages. Hot water tanks, basements, we ask a lot of questions about if it's unfinished, if it's finished, the types of finishing, how much of a percentage is it finished, so that we're accounting for all of this in the rebuilding cost. So in the event of a loss, they're going to get exactly what they had, right? We don't want to underinsure them. Exterior of the home, garages, are they attached or detached? Those detached garages, those are counting as outbuildings, right? So those actually aren't included in our insurance rate calculator. So we're going to be asking about a rebuild cost for that. You know, is it a single car garage? Is it a double car garage? Is it oversized? Is it extras? Like, is it more of a shop style? Do you have living quarters in it? There are lots of questions because we have seen lots of things.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then the extras. Do you have sunrooms? Do you have decks, porches, hot tubs, saunas, swimming pools, things like that? A lot of that leads to liability questions that we then ask. But yeah, just more that we know what we're insuring.
Yeah, looping in the insurance is early actually can reduce fear of like how much it's going to cost or what problems we're going to have for insurance, and it actually like can be leveraged in an offer, right? So sometimes like I'm one that likes to talk to the listing agent a lot when I'm writing an offer and multiple offers especially. So like if I can kind of show that my buyer has done all this prep work to be prepared for their offer and their closing, especially because we don't want just offers accepted. We want offers to close.
Absolutely.
Right. And so sometimes I can help my buyer look like they have a stronger offer, even though it's not the offer price necessarily. It's that they've done all the planning ahead of time.
Absolutely. I'm sure there's lots of conditions. I've seen insurance be a condition of a sale as well. So yeah, it's not unheard of for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Doing that pre-planning so that it's not a condition is nice if it can be done, because then, but I like to still like talk to the listing agents so that they know that we've done it, so that if in their mind, oh, we have a 60 amp panel in this house, so they're, people are going to have a harder time getting insurance. I kind of like to talk about what we've planned for that, right? So that they have an idea that like we've noticed that, we've recognized that, and we have something in place for that. Whereas another offer that just shows up and they haven't had that discussion, they're like, oh, what if they back out when they find out they can't get insurance?
You bet. And not every risk is a cookie cutter risk.
No,
So those ones that are outside of that normal, it's definitely a benefit for them for sure.
exactly. Yeah, it's good for the seller to know that you have plans and how you're going to deal with them. So yeah. So for future plans like home-based businesses and shops, like how does that affect policy choice?
So it's often a question that we ask in ahead of time because not all of the companies treat home-based businesses or daycare operations the same. So if we know that the intentions are going to be there, maybe in the future, let's say not right now when they're moving in, maybe they need some work to be done before they look at doing that, but it's going to be the intention to do that in 6 months, in a year from now. We know that's going to be the case, so we need to be shopping the market appropriately so that we don't have to be rewriting the midterm. It avoids any extra fees or cancellation fees, like transfer fees, anything like that we're trying to avoid. So when we're placing the risk, we want it to be not just what fits right now, but what's going to fit them with their intentions shortly from now, right?
That makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would be really important to grow with the buyer.
You bet. Yeah, especially daycares. There's certain questionnaires that need to be completed. There's certain safety requirements that they often ask as well. So it's good to know ahead of time what that's going to look like for them so they can plan accordingly as well. Because maybe it looks different for them. Maybe they thought it was going to be different. Maybe thought it was going to be easier. And we just don't want them to have any surprises as well. 'Cause that's
Sure. And if they're planning a renovation to have that business, then it probably would help them decide on what they do need to do.
exactly. Yeah. What would be a requirement and maybe what could wait a little bit longer too,
Right, right.
depending on their priorities, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like information just is always helpful in planning everything.
Yeah. I am very much an over-preparer than an under-preparer, but yes.
Yeah,
I know not everyone is like that, so we definitely try to help them along the way.
exactly. That way they're not like wishing they did it differently.
Yeah, it's the worst.
So just some fast fire questions that that just need some quick answers. Does the seller's insurance ever transfer?
No, it does not transfer. You need to get your own. It is so individual. You need to ask your questions. We need to talk to you. It needs to follow you.
Yeah. I tell people that too all the time because some people will be like, well, can you ask them how much how much they pay for insurance? And I'm like, it doesn't matter how much they pay for insurance. You're not going to get anything close to what they get. You are two very different people.
Exactly. We often see in smaller towns, someone sells a house to so-and-so and they talk about everything. So they know what they're paying for insurance. So when they come in and it looks different and they don't understand and trying to say, it's for you now though. Like it's you, it's your experience, it's your history, it's following you. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Does a new build automatically mean no insurance issues?
No, there's still lots of requirements as well. So new builds, people are often adding things like wood stoves or fireplaces, maybe even an insert. So if they're not approved by the companies, they're not CSA approved, there's going to be some more questions, and it doesn't mean automatic you're good.
Yeah. Can buyers safely deal with insurance after the offer?
Yes, for sure. The offer, I guess, doesn't need the insurance, but they're going to want to get that in place prior to them seeing the lawyer. So that's when they're going to need it. We don't want it to hold up possession dates or push things back for them or even lose out on the sale. I've seen like worst case scenario. People have backed out or had to like retract their offers, but very seldom do we ever see that.
Yeah, we kind of, especially if we see any of the red flags, to kind of want to have that in place ahead of time or have an idea of what's going to need to be done.
It's not the be all end all, but it's just always better to have those conversations earlier on. So we're both on the same page and we both know kind of what the end goal is going to be.
Yeah. Is it true that you can cancel anytime without penalties?
No. So often if you're canceling midterm, if you're canceling right at your renewal or your renewal has just happened, there's most likely still going to be some cancellation fees. The only time we can waive that is at your renewal. If you're going to be moving to another company, we can cancel with that company pro rata, so no cancellation fees. and rewrite them. But if you're in your term and maybe you are a month in, maybe you're 5 months in, there's going to be cancellation fees. So often have those conversations and make sure you're making the best decisions. So
Awesome.
when we have clients come in and say we need to cancel, that we are curious, we ask them more questions. Why do you need to cancel? Did you buy something new? And oftentimes they are moving, maybe they're downsizing. We can transfer and make that policy what we need it to be for the future. So maybe we change it from a home to a tenant or a condo package. Maybe we are moving it from a home to a new home, and we're able to do a transfer on that policy so it avoids cancellation fees altogether.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can you share a deal that almost fell apart because of insurance?
So I've had when you kind of gave me this ahead of time, I was thinking, I'm like, there's often different things that always come up, but a few that have stuck with me over the years were the age of a furnace one. It was then another one was a combination furnace and aluminum wiring. So those red flags that we had kind of talked about. Now they weren't the be all end all. We didn't, we weren't able to not help these clients. We were able to find something to kind of work in the end.
Yeah.
So the age of the furnace was well over what the company was going to be accepting or willing to offer. The client was adamant that it was in like really good condition, and they were willing to even offer invoices to show that it was being serviced yearly, and the company accepted. So we were able to kind of work with them and find a common denominator that was able to work between them, that we were able to get that coverage in place with that company because they were offering great rates in that area. They were offering great coverage. That client really wanted that company, so they were willing to do what they needed to do to get what they wanted. So that was nice. The combination furnace was a wood electric furnace. The company was a hard no on the wood portion of it. So we were able to actually work with them to get that part of it disconnected and removed. We signed a statement saying that this was done, provided photos to the company. They were super happy, and they were able to continue with the coverage for there.
Right on.
Aluminum wiring, it was a new purchase to them. They didn't know about the aluminum wiring until they were well in and in the process of buying, I should say.
Yeah.
And it wasn't pigtailed yet, but the company was willing to provide some extensions on working with them, basically. So they said, as long as you have the work booked within 30 days of the date of possession, we'll continue to work with you. Okay. 30 days from that date, let's have the work completed.
Yeah.
And then I think that one, they also asked for a GFCI outlet to be installed as well, because there hadn't been one.
Okay.
But they allowed for this 60 days to get all of this done. The new buyers were able to secure the work, get the work done, provide invoices and photos that it was provided and done. And they were able to get the coverage that they needed as well. So.
Oh, that's nice that was able to be done that way, because sometimes we put in clauses that the seller has to get that pigtailing done. And then you're relying on someone else to do work that you would like to have control over. Like I always say, if you want something done right, do it yourself. And and yes, it's nice to have someone else pay for it sometimes. but if
too.
Sorry?
It's the peace of mind too, right?
Yeah,
that you're
exactly.
getting it done.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I have, it's nice to know who's doing it and that and all that stuff. So I like, kind of knowing who's doing it and the buyer has control over that instead of, it's great to be like, oh, the seller's going to do this, but who did they have do it? And you are less likely to be able to look at that yourself.
A lot of these red flags that we talk about, they are red flags because it raises concern or a conversation that should be had, but it's not a deal breaker. There often are ways around it. The companies are often reasonable. Like you get an advisor that is experienced and they know the markets, they know where who they should be approaching with certain markets. You get yourself a good advisor, you will get exactly what you need.
Exactly. How does early planning reduce the pressure on buyers?
Basically, just that sense of security. They know what they're in for. They know what they're going to be getting, what they needs to be done. So if there are any requirements, it's not a shock to them later on. We're not talking a month into them taking possession of their home and moving in, and their life is up in arms right now, and we're
Scrambling
asking for
already.
things that they have no idea that needed to be happening. So,
Yeah.
or they forget. Things happen. Life happens, and that's okay too. Like, the companies often are willing to work with us and provide extensions, as long as the clients are willing to provide updates as well, and just are transparent. Like, we are understanding that things do happen. Life does happen. Maybe the work was scheduled to be done. It needed to be delayed. That's okay. When are you scheduling it now? I'll let the company know. We'll work with you.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
If buyers were to remember one thing from today, what should it be?
Um, One thing from today, we talked about a lot.
Yes,
I
we
would say, don't forget about insurance. Ask some questions, shop around too. A lot of the brokerages have many companies that they offer coverages with. So it's not just it's a one-stop shop, right? So you're going to see quotes particularly with us, we have Wawanesa, Intact, Red River Mutual, Portage Mutual, SGI, Sandbox, Optimum, many more. So when you have a brokerage that represents many of these companies, they're
Yeah.
able to shop that market for you so that you're confident in the decisions that you're making. And yeah, it's never too early to start the conversation about insurance.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. And like Chantel said earlier, insurance is something that you hope to never use, but when you need it, you need it, and we want zero surprises. So if you found this episode helpful, please share, like, and subscribe. And thank you again for watching. Thanks, Chantel.